Thank you. The question is that the motion be agreed to. The member for Goldstein.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, this motion is important because it speaks to the heart of what this government is about. It's not about empowering the people in this room. It's not about empowering the people who are in Canberra. It's actually about empowering people, individuals, families, communities as the foundation for the great nation. It's a disappointment that the member from Fremantle is running out of the Federation chamber, because there is nothing I enjoy more than responding to his fine address, least because he says that tax cuts are the only objective of this government. In fact, criticised the mover of this, the outstanding member who moved this motion, for suggesting that it is the only substance of this government. Clearly, he either did not, the member for Fremantle did not sit through the Governor-General's address at the start of this parliament. It went for about 30 minutes. And don't get me wrong, member for Fremantle, I love tax reform so much I could talk about it for half an hour, but I concede that that was not the only substantial point. But the government has an extensive program focused on infrastructure, supporting people with mental health, doing all sorts of things and meeting the expectations that Australians have. Record funding in health, record funding in education, record funding for the sort of support services that Australians expect their government will deliver. But why can this government deliver it, member Fremantle? And the reason is simple, Deputy Speaker. The reason we can deliver it is because we're running a strong budget framework, a budget surplus which they love to neglect, which one of their members referred to as a vanity project. That is the nature and the objective of this Labor Party, this opposition, that they see prudent, responsible budget management as a vanity project of the nation, rather than the core of what we should have as part of our budget framework so that we can deliver for the Australian people. But we should not underestimate the power and the capacity of what these tax cuts can do. As the mover of the motion rightly outlined, it goes to the core of what this government is about, the opportunity for people to be successful. It means that more money will sit in people's pockets. It means they'll be empowered, because it's not just dollars and cents, it's power over people's lives to make choices in the best interests of them, their families and their communities. And when the earlier speaker, the member for Fremantle, went on about how there's no stimulus, he must have missed the lower middle income offsets, tax offsets that were passed by this parliament, which, last I recall, he voted against. Yeah. They only voted for it in the Senate, but they like to forget that selective fact. Deputy Speaker, they like to forget that selective fact. You agree with it in principle, but when it came down to it, which side of the chamber were you sitting on? We remember, and it wasn't the right side of the chamber or the right side of history. What that money is going towards is stimulating the economy to make sure that people have more money in their pockets so they can support their local small businesses, so they can support their communities and so they can support growth. Because we understand, Deputy Speaker, how critical this is to the success of our nation. And that is the one thing that has always plagued and plagued the minds of our opponents, is that they see the success of the nation not through the success of Australians, but through the success of themselves. And that is one of the fundamental problems that sits at the heart of who they are and why the Australian people so resoundingly rejected them. Because while they stand here and now lecture us about how, allegedly, we're not bringing tax cuts along fast enough, we're not bringing along tax cuts fast enough. They want the collective memory of the nation to forget the $387 billion of tax increases that they took to the election, which they said they thought was necessary for the success of the country, which they said was the foundation of the future success of Australians, to fund all the programs that they would love to see. $387 billion, a scar on the legacy of an opposition that may once have felt that there was some sort of dignity in encouraging people and empowering individuals to live their lives, discarding the very legacy of the Hawke-Keating government that they so love to invoke when it seeks to inspire their agenda, but they don't believe it, Deputy Speaker. They talk it, they advocate it, but they don't live it. because their only agenda is to hit the hip pockets of Australians because they think they know better.
Thank you. The question.